All right, mathematicians, here we are in our second lesson for the day. Now, we're going to get back into a little bit of data analysis of linear models. So we're going to analyze the relationship between our height and our arm spans today. So you guys will need some measuring tape, and I have some measuring tape in the shelves. You know where my protractors are. So if you guys could please get one measuring tape per group and then share it amongst your group members, please. Okay. Now you guys are going to measure your height and your arm span is in inches. So be very careful when you guys are measuring. Okay. Just be accurate. And then you're going to fill in this this chart here. Mainly focus on these two here at the start, okay? But before we do that, let's go ahead and write our focus question and the definition of our scatter plot here. So it says, our focus question says, how can you check to see whether a linear model is a good fit? Okay, and we're going to do that by drawing a scatter plot, then trying to draw a line of best fit, and seeing whether or not that line is a good fit for this model. Okay, so scatter plot, which we're going to create today, is just a graph used to explore the relationship between two variables. Okay, and the two variables we're looking at today is our height and arm span. Now, the title of this lesson is called Vitruvian Man. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's this drawing of it's a naked guy in a circle. Not the greatest representation, but here, I need to draw this more proportionately so that the arms and the height line up a little bit more. Basically like this. Basically talking about the ratios of the human body, and that's what we're looking at today. We're talking about the ratio of the height of your height to your arm span. Okay. So again, I'm going to repeat the directions. You're going to measure your height and your arm span in inches, and you're going to record it in these top two spaces or these top two rows in the table. Okay. I would also like you guys to go around and collect data from other class members as well, okay? Which means that your scatter plot is going to look, it might look different than your neighbors, and that is okay. Okay, so you need a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You need 11 different heights, please. Okay, so 11 heights. So go ahead, pause the video, and gather your 11 heights. All right, because I'm not there, I'm going to use this. Table here. So what's important to know is that your height is going to be your independent variable, and your arm span is going to be your dependent variable in this case. Okay, I'm just going to borrow these from the table up here. $58, 61. 59, 56, 60, 58, 60, 59, 60, 60, 62, 62, 64, 63, and then I'll do 64, 62. Okay, so once you have your 11 data values, we're going to go ahead and create what we call a scatter plot, okay? So I would like you guys to set up your graph just like this with the same markings, okay? So along the x-axis, we have the height in inches, and then along the y-axis, we have, we have the arm span in inches. Okay, you guys might notice that I have these little squiggly marks here. That just means that there's like a break in the pattern here, As you can see that I skipped every other line and went up by 4, but when I get to 0, 0, I go from 0 to 54 rather than 0, 4, 8, 12, and so on and so forth. Okay, so there's just a break there. So that little squiggly line or that zigzag line kind of tells your readers that. Okay, so once you guys have your graph set up, you're going to just plot the points. Don't connect them with a line yet, just plot the points, and we'll see what we get. Okay, so I have 56, 54. Oops, I'm still in highlighter here. 56, 54, 57, 57. And as you guys are plotting this, not everything's going to fall exactly on a corner, and that is okay. I also have a 57, 54, so that'd be right there. I have a 58, 61. So 58 is here, 61 is approximately right there. I have a 59, 56, so 59 is here. And then 56 is right there. 60, 58, which is right there. 60, 59, which is right there. 60, 60, just right there. 62, 62, just right there. 64, 63, which is approximately right there. And then 64, 62. And there we go. So we have a scatter plot of 11 different data values. In question 2, which is the box underneath our graph, it says, do you think the scatter plot supports the claim that arm span and height are about equal for most people? So based on your graph, does it look like there's a strong linear trend? Does it look like, are your points scattered all over the place? What do you think? In my case, I can see that there's a little bit of a linear trend, right? My dots are still pretty close together, and they're moving in a very similar direction, right? They're kind of moving upwards like this, okay? So I might say that there's a general linear trend. But remember, the claim that we're trying to either agree or disagree with is that arm span and height are about equal for most people. Well, according to my data, there were only a few students who had arm spans and heights that were the same. So I'm going to say, but this graph, but this scatter plot does not show that most people's arm spans equal their heights. So yes, there's a little bit of a linear trend, but as of right now, it doesn't look like arm span equals height. Okay, so moving on to question 3 here. It says, if each student in the class had an arm span of S equal to height H, what equation would relate the two variables? Well, if we want arm span S to equal H, hopefully you guys said S is equal to H. That's going to be our linear model here. This is going to be what we're going to use to predict some values, okay? So S is equal to, I'm going to write that up here on my graph because we need to graph this. S is equal to H. This is very similar. This is very similar to Y equals X, the graph Y equals X. So we're taking our dependent variable, and that is equal to our independent variable. So I'm going to do this in red. So with y equals x, the point 0, 0 is always going to be on the graph. Okay, now remember that we want the arm span and the height to equal each other. So I'm just going to pick another point on here, maybe at 78. I'll draw my line of best fit all the way through the graph here. So 78. If my height is 78 here, my arm span should also be 78. So I'm going to draw my second point up here, and I'm just going to connect the two dots. These two red dots here. And there we go. So this is what we call a line of best fit. We are testing to see if this line accurately represents the data here that we have collected. Okay, and again, your scatter plot might look different, okay, but your line of best fit, this S equals H line, that should look the same for all of us. Okay, so this is S equals H. Okay, now we need to answer a few questions about S equals H. It says, which data points, if any, does your line pass through? Explain how arm span and height are related in those points. Okay, in my graph, my line passed through a few of my points here. 1, 2, and 3. So that looks like 57. Yeah, 57. So I'm going to write the 3 points. Write however many points it passes through. Okay, if any. Emphasis on if. You might not have any at all. I have one at 60, 60. And then I also have one at 62, 62. Okay, and then the question also says, explain how arm span and height are related in those points. Well, arm span and height are the same at all of these points. That's what it means. Okay, all right. Next it says, choose several data points that are not on your line. Explain how arm span and height are related in each case. How do you describe the relationship shown on the graph? For this question, can you guys just pick one point that is above the line, if you have any, and 1 point below the line? Try to pick one above and one below. If you don't have any above, if you don't have any below, then go ahead and choose 2 points that are not on the line, okay? But in my case, I have, let's see, I'm going to pick this one that's above, and that's at 58.61. So above is 58.61, and that just tells me that the height is less than the arm span. And then I'm going to pick a point below. So remember, if you don't have any points below, that's okay. Pick 2 points that are just not on the line and interpret them, please. Okay, and then below the line, I'm just going to pick, let's pick this one. And that's at 64.62. So again, we're making sense out of these numbers. We're giving these numbers meaning, okay? That's important here. So in this case, the height is greater than the arm span. Okay, so what we're going to do is I would like you guys to go ahead and finish this table here. So the model that we're going to use is the model S equals H. Okay, so when the height is 56 inches, the predicted arm span should also be 56 inches. Okay, when the height is 57, the predicted model should also be 57. Okay, so go ahead and fill in this part of your table, please. It should just match your height row exactly. Okay, now remember that we calculated residuals way back in the first few lessons, right? And the residuals are nice because they tell us like what or they account for the errors that could have happened during the experiment. Okay, and to calculate the residuals, we are going to take the actual value and subtract the predicted value. So go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and do that, please. Okay, now we're going to calculate a total error here. So we're going to go ahead and add up all of our residuals. Again, it's going to be different than your neighbor's most likely, okay, and that's okay. So I have -2 plus -3, which is -5. Hope those cancel out, but then so I'm at -5 still, -7, -8, -9, -10, -11. So my total error is around -11. So it kind of supports my theory here that there's a general linear trend, but the scatter plot doesn't show that most people's arm spans are equal to their heights. I need you guys to remember that this right here, we want the total error to be closer to 0. Because when there's 0 errors, that means your model or your predicted model is going to be fairly accurate. Okay, -11, not the greatest. You'll see that most of my points are actually below that line of best fit. Okay, all right. So I think you guys have everything that you guys need for answering questions B and C. Okay. I'm going to pause the video here because I believe you guys can do this. These notes will be on MyConnect, so these will be filled in by hopefully by the time school ends today. Okay. All right, you guys. Keep up the good work, and I look forward to seeing you on Thursday. I'll see you in the next lesson.